Yes, this is Mr. Controversy, and this is the infamous three-point conversion station. Keep it locked.
Fourth down and 5 out of the shotgun. He's got the snap. He's backpedaling, up in the pocket, throwing long and deep for Callaway. He caught it in the end zone. Touchdown! Antonio Callaway. What a catch! A bomb by Tyrod Taylor, and the rookie Antonio Callaway caught it. Unbelievable!
From coast to coast, representing all the dog pound, this is the Brownstown USA Podcast, powered by the three-point conversion. I'm Eric, and over there is LA Broadus. LA!
What's going on, everybody? As Eric just stated, this is the Brownstown USA Podcast, powered by the three-point conversion, and we are here, ready to go, geared up for Jets Week. Yes, this week we play on Thursday, and we go up against the New York Jets, which is everybody is calling Sam Darnold Week. We will get more into that a little bit later. But, of course, I got to check in with my main man because I cannot do this alone. Eric sitting across from me, man. Eric, we talk about sports all the time, man, but I kind of felt like starting now and then going on forward. Let's talk a little bit. Let's let people know, what we have going on. Like, right now, for me, for instance, as an example, I've decided to go back and start watching The Wire. Now, The Wire is a show that everybody says is, epic and, it belongs in the greater echelon of TV shows and, it's about drugs and cops and, out there. So I went back. I'm in, I think, episode 1 right now, actually. I'm still in episode 1 because these episodes are so freaking long. But have you seen The Wire? I mean, do you agree with everybody else that it's, the best show ever?
I'll be honest with you. I actually don't follow, the very popular TV shows like that. There's some everyone I know talks about Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or that one with the zombies that's on now, Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, yeah.
Never seen any of them. I'm more the type of guy that'll watch more, under the radar shows. I know Bar Rescue, people know that one, but it's not as well known as the other ones. Superstore. Okay. I watch a lot of smaller. I think probably the most popular show I watch might be Impractical Jokers, but that's about it.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting to know, and I'm pretty sure the listeners want to know a little bit more about us. And again, we thank you and appreciate you guys for listening to the show. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So, I mean, make sure that, like I said, you check us out everywhere that you've been listening, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, wherever you can listen to a podcast. We are there ready to go, of course, under the three-point conversion radio. So make sure you check us out there. Also follow us on Twitter at BrownsTownUSA, and check out our Facebook group at BrownsTownUSA. Still growing. We've been getting a lot of compliments lately about the group. I know we had one little complaint, which, everybody ran to the post and was like, no, that's far-fetched. Because, of course, with the Browns losing, as often as they have, the fans can be a little, what's the word I'm looking for?
Orny.
You said who?
Orny?
Yes. That's a good word for it.
Not the other word.
That's a good word for it. That's a good word for it.
That's the thing, especially in the way that we've been losing them as well. I mean, if it was we were getting blown out, that'd be one thing. But after last week, I think people are just getting a little annoyed because these are games we should have won.
And that is very, very true. And we'll probably get into a little bit more of that during our preview that we got coming up. But just to kind of break down the show for you guys, and then we'll hop right into it. Of course, we have our AFC North roundup, or wrap, whatever you want to call it. Injuries, the preview of the game, of course, our players to watch. Of course, we have our world-renowned segment, Dawgie Bag, by my man Eric, and we have some questions out there from the fans, and we will address those and make sure we give you guys shout-outs, and we'll be doing that every week. So make sure you submit your questions to us on the Brownstown USA Facebook page or through our Twitter handle at Brownstown USA. And then, of course, we'll wrap up everything with a nice, pretty bow. And that's how we do it. So, Eric, AFC North Roundup, breaking down our, what do you call it, redheaded stepbrothers and sisters across the way.
Wait, don't talk about Andy Dalton. Like, just kidding.
Oh, yeah, shoot, my bad. I have nothing against gingers at all, even though I know South Park. I don't know if anybody, never mind, I ain't gonna go there. But, as a matter of fact, speaking of gingers, Bengals, they beat the Ravens 34-23. Kansas City came and beat the Steelers 42-37. Anything about those scores, Eric, kind of jump out to you, surprise you? Were you surprised at all?
Well, I was at the bar on, I guess it was Sunday now, and just watching the game, I'll be honest, the Steelers just looked lost out there. I mean, yeah, they came back, but they gave up 21 points almost immediately. It was like, best way to put it, I work with a guy at the radio station I'm with, and you know what his common thing for the Steelers is? Here you go. Here's the game. Take it from us. We clearly don't want it. He said it during the Browns week, and he said it when they played the Browns. Said it again when they played the Chiefs. He's feeling like the Steelers just don't want to win, and considering all the controversy that's going on down there, I don't blame him.
And actually, that's a good point and a good segue into what we're going to discuss next is what's going on with the Steelers. So some reports came out and said that Antonio Brown skipped practice or reviews or whatever they do on Mondays. Mostly most teams come in, watch film. It's kind of like a light, easy day. But Antonio Brown wasn't there. Most of the media, of course, addressed Mike Tomlin at the time. Mike Tomlin said that he would talk to Antonio Brown about it. But this came after the fact of a fan, or I don't even think it was a fan. I think it was a former personnel person from the Steelers. And the guy basically tweeted at Antonio Brown and said that Antonio Brown wouldn't be as good and he should be thanking his lucky stars that he has Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback because he wouldn't be the player that he is. Antonio Brown promptly responded, setting the Twitter and social media world on fire by saying, well, trade me then and let's find out. So, with all that being said, Eric, what do you think about this situation?
I think right now, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're in the ultimate lose-lose situation. Look, I get it that he's not going to go anywhere, and I think some of our fans are jumping at the chance because they're like, Antonio Brown? Cool. But he's not going to go anywhere. The guy just got a massive contract. You really think he's going to give that up just to prove a point? Okay, maybe he could, but he's not. He's not.
True.
Especially given that you have Le'Veon Bell not there. And no offense to James Conner, he's made for a good player, but he's not Le'Veon Bell. Bell has been a guy that we've seen that can change a franchise. Connor's not there yet.
That's true. And I mean, in the Connor's credit, like Connor's a rookie. So we're, coming in and doing what he's been able to do as a rookie has been phenomenal. And then, of course, he has just an amazing backstory, but we're not going to go into more of that. Now, I know one person that is smiling, though, and that you already mentioned is Le'Veon Bell, because with Le'Veon Bell still not being there and then Antonio Brown doing this, I know he's smiling because, first of all, the attention is off of Le'Veon for now. Also, too, it kind of goes towards what Le'Veon's main purpose is as far as with this holdout. It kind of makes you think, okay, is it just money, which, yeah, it could be, or is it also a little bit behind the scenes, too, as far as the discord of the team, and them having some issues. So it kind of makes you think, kind of makes you wonder. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye out on this because we want to know. I mean, whatever goes on across over there is definitely going to affect the AFC North and its outcome this season. So right now, and it's crazy to say it, Eric, out of my mouth, but Pittsburgh and the Browns have the same record.
I'm shocked. I mean, this is the thing. Everyone that has been saying that Mike Tomlin's an overrated coach, right now they are salivating over this because we've been hearing about this idea of the collapse of the Steelers. It's starting to look possible now, especially considering that if they have a bad year, Ben's got that retirement thought in his head. He's had it the past 2 or 3 years, I believe. So what's one really bad season going to do? It's like the Joker in Batman. All it takes is one bad day to offset everything.
That's true. And again, like I said, we'll see what they end up doing. We'll keep a close eye on it and we'll let you guys know. But for right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we will talk about our injuries and also any transactions that the team has had. This is the 3-point conversion. Well, we are the 3-point conversion, yes. But this is BrownsTownUSA Podcast powered by the 3-point conversion. We'll be right back.
What's up, man? It's Metal World P. Shout out to the 3-point conversion radio.
And we are back. I am LA, and across from me is my man Eric, and this is BrownsTownUSA powered by the 3-point conversion. And we just got done with our AFC North roundup. Some great juicy news there, especially for some other teams that are a little dysfunctional, and for once is not only just the Browns this time. So I'm down for that. And Eric is definitely excited as well. But Eric, wanted to jump into our injury and transaction news. One big one, well, actually, pretty much all of them are kind of big except for one name. But again, the one thing before we announce the injuries, I mean, our depth on this team is actually pretty good, man. I mean, it's really good. What do you think about the injuries that we suffered so far this season and how we've been able to, even though it hasn't translated to a W, how do you think we've been able to counteract some of these injuries?
Well, one of the bigger ones that I know a lot of people were talking about was last week people were scared when Agba was announced to be out. Then all of a sudden they plug Jannard Avery in, and he just lit it up. I mean, the guy was outrunning Jabril Peppers. You don't see that from that position that often, but he looked good. Now that Gordon's obviously gone, you have, last week you saw Callaway step up, you saw Landry step up, and I'll even say it, there were a few plays that Higgins made. It's crazy, but this depth is probably the best we've had in years.
Absolutely. So kind of letting everybody know what we got going on. Agba has already been officially ruled out, which is not a surprise because it is a shorter week and we play on Thursday. So to have that much of a turnaround that fast, we weren't really expecting it. They're being cautious, and Hugh has always been cautious with injuries, especially when it comes to, trying to get them back for the longer part of the season. So Agba's still out with the ankle injury. We have Kirksey that is a game-time decision with his ankle right now. We have Demarius Randall that is on the injury list for his heel injury, and he is a game-time decision. And then we also have Seth DeVal with a hamstring injury. Now, with these injuries here, is there anybody else besides – well, now we've already said that we've seen Agba get filled in pretty well. Is there anybody else that's really a concern to you that's right now on this injury list?
Probably the one I will say is probably Demarius Randall, because the thing is, I love BBC. Don't get me wrong. It's my favorite British television. Oh, we're not talking about that BBC. Never mind. No, Brindley Calhoun is a great cornerback, and he was probably our best cornerback for the past 2 years. The problem, though, he hasn't been that great of a safety in his limited opportunities. Randall has stepped in and been a rock star in Cleveland. It's crazy because this was a guy that was essentially labeled a bust in Green Bay because they were using him wrong. But that's really the only one because, as we've seen, James Burgess, whenever he gets the call, he fills in nicely. And DeVal, we've played without him so far, and other than Njoku needing to get some better gloves, the tight end position has been pretty solid.
That's very true. And just to kind of piggyback on your point about Randall, that was the concerning one there. I believe Randall has had a turnover our first 2 weeks. He's had a turnover. So he's a part of that defense, and he's a part of getting to the ball. We've seen him tackle well. We've seen him cover well. They've been able to slide him into the nickel corner slot whenever we needed it. Also slide him back out there to the safety. So his versatility, man, is something that is off the charts right now, and something that is definitely helping out this defense and helping out Greg Williams when it comes to putting in the schemes. Now, as far as transactions, we, of course, with the trade of Josh Gordon, we brought in wide receiver Rod Streeter, and then we also brought in kicker Greg Joseph with the debacle that happened with Zane Gonzalez. Now, Eric, besides, of course, obviously Greg Joseph, do you see anything out of Rod Streeter this week, or do you think we should probably wait a couple of weeks for him?
To be honest, I'm not really expecting a whole lot in general from him. I mean, not for nothing. He could very well be that diamond in the rough that, for some reason, Dorsey always finds. Like, let's be honest. The guy literally has a metal detector and finds ways to find hidden gems, while someone like Ray Farmer has one, he's finding tin cans. But this is the thing. Streeter, I'm not expecting too much from, other than a depth piece at this point, because he's not going to start. And you know what? I think he'll just be like an interchangeable part. I remember that you said in the breaking news podcast that we had earlier in the week that you just see him as like one of those wide receivers that is going to be coming in and out. I could see that, but I also think that it's just going to be someone that is just here for now.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. I kind of see him. I mean, he's been a veteran in the league. I believe he's been in the league for, I want to say, 5 years. He's a 5-year vet. So any kind of experience that you can bring to that room is huge. I don't know if you got a chance to listen, but on the Hugh Jackson show, Nathan Zagura was able to interview Hollywood Higgins, Rashard Higgins, and he basically said that one of the things that he was going to miss about Josh Gordon departing was that Josh, even though he hadn't been on the field a lot, he was able to kind of help them out behind the scenes because he's been in the league for so long. So with Rod doing that, coming in as a veteran, I think that Rod can actually help out when it comes to the wide receiver room.
You know, it's actually funny. This morning while I was doing some research while producing the show I do, somebody actually brought up an interesting point. I don't know if there's any smoke to this, if you've heard any of this, but there's been some rumblings that maybe this was Haley's idea to move on from Gordon. I mean, it sounds weird because if I remember, I thought Haley was the one that wanted Gordon in the lineup on the first game of the year. So I don't know if you've heard anything from this at all, but Hugh seemed a little shocked when it actually all happened.
I would say that Hugh might have been shocked. The only thing I've been hearing, to be honest with you, real quick before we wrap this up, is that I had a chance to listen to I forgot what her podcast is called, but it was something with Mary Kay on there. I think it's the Orange and Brown Talk or something like that.
Yeah.
And she was saying that with Josh, Dorsey, she felt like Dorsey was making a point that he said he was coming in and he was going to change the culture. He really had Josh Gordon on a short leash, and this was something that he intended to do when he came in, and he wanted to make that statement. So basically, she used the word saying that he put the locker room on notice that I don't care how much talent you have. I'm not going to sit up here and play games with you. You will be cut. You will be traded. So it was like an impact move. She felt like that was.
Makes sense.
So that wraps up the injuries and transactions. When we come back, we will start to preview our matchup against the New York Jets. I'm LA, and Eric sitting across from me, and this is the BrownsTownUSA Podcast powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cat Williams, and you are listening to 3-Point Conversion Radio.
And we are back. I'm LA, and across from me, of course, is my main man, Eric. And this is Brownstown USA, powered by the 3-point conversion. Just got done wrapping up injuries and transactions. And now we are going to break down the game, the big game. All right. The Cleveland Browns against the New York Jets. And, of course, we invite them into Cleveland to First Energy Stadium to face off with us. Now, Eric, this is the first time since 2015 that the Cleveland Browns have been favored in anything. No, I'm just playing. But this is the first time we've been favored at home in a matchup. Now, before we actually start dissecting it and breaking it down position by position like we normally do, Eric, are you surprised by this? Do you think that this is kind of like a bad sign, a good sign? How do you feel about this whole us being favored?
If I remember, I thought later as the week went on, we were seen as semi-favorites for one game. But at the same time, my biggest thing with all of this is I don't know what to even feel with it. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we are in a situation that we're not used to. We're the Browns. We're used to being the underdogs. We're not used to being the favorites. And you know what? I think it feels damn good to be the favorite this time around. Like, to be the favorite at the start of the week, especially considering that we have played games very closely. I was at the bar, like I said, and I saw some of that Jet game. They didn't impress me at all. The Jets, not for nothing, they lost to the Dolphins. Probably not that impressive of a team when you think about it.
I think the jury's still out when it comes to the Dolphins. I'm very shocked, and a lot of people pick the Dolphins as their surprise team for, being so good right now. They're 2-0. So it's definitely a surprise. I didn't expect for the Dolphins to be that good, but I did read an article saying that the Dolphins were better than what you think. So the jury's still out on that. We may – again, a lot of teams start off fast, and then all of a sudden we see them come crashing down. So if that's the case, man, that's the case. But going into this, we already announced our injuries. On the Jet side, Marcus May is the big name that jumps out to me. He's doubtful, their safety. So that's definitely a good sign. Neil Sterling, their tight end, is out. And then also Josh Martin, their linebacker, is out as well. Eric, like I said, we're going to break down these matchups. First off, of course, we got to go quarterback to quarterback, man. Real quickly, Sam Darnold right now for the season has 532 yards, 3 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions. What have you seen from Sam Darnold from what you've been able to catch? Is there any kind of concern that you have with him as far as lighting us up this game?
The one concern I do have is the fact that he actually does have some weapons. I mean, look, Anderson, Anunwa, the thing is, they have some – and the Jets quietly have some weapons here. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I think that they could light it up. The problem is, though, and this is exactly the problem, he is showing you why they should have stuck with a veteran in front of him. I mean, he's looked good, but at the same time, he's looked like a rookie. He's sounded like a rookie. He's been on the field like a rookie. And you know what? It's sort of it's almost like the inverse of what we're used to doing at this point. Like, how many times have we stuck a rookie quarterback out there that probably should have sat a year only to get thrown to the wolves and not really struggled, but not really shown the goods, if you will? Darnold, to me, seems like that.
Yeah, and I mean, that goes back and forth with the debate. You have the debate that people say that the rookie quarterback needs to be out there on the field so they can get hands-on. You have the debate that the guy needs to sit behind. Now, this is what I was talking to somebody else about the other day, and it's something that I kind of want to put the public on notice about. Everybody learns differently, okay? You have to be able to assess your person. You can't say that the same way Eric may be a hands-on kind of guy. I might be a guy that can sit back and listen to a lecture and get it. Everybody learns differently, and it doesn't make them better or worse than the other one. But we have to quit looking at these quarterbacks the same exact way when it comes to them playing.
Mm-hmm.
Some need to get out there and they need to play right away, get hands-on experience. I get it. And Mayfield may be that guy, but we have to trust in our coaches to see what kind of guy that we are dealing with here. Now, another big name that is lighting it up right now is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes came out, and there's an article on, I believe, Pro Football Talk, and he basically said, I benefited from sitting down for most of that year. I benefited from it. I was able to learn, develop, figure out how to prepare for a game, figure out how to be a professional. He said, if I had to do all that and at the same time play in a game, he said I would have went out there and I would have just been trying to make plays, and I wouldn't have been able to truly break down everything when it came to being an actual NFL quarterback. So that is my point. That's what I want to put people on notice for. Everybody learns differently.
Right, exactly. And you know what? I think I know what post you're talking about here. The thing is, this is exactly, and you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, look, Peyton Manning came in to a situation where people knew he was going to start right away. The same thing can also be said about Ryan Leaf, two totally different paths. Now, does that mean every quarterback's going to do that? Absolutely not. I mean, that's something that's every once in a while. I mean, Stafford, Carson Wentz, all them, sure. But for all them, you also have Tom Brady, who sat behind Drew Bledsoe for about, I think it was half a season, I believe. You have, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, probably the most famous example. Even Ben Roethlisberger, who sat behind Tommy Maddox for like a quarter of a season. There's different ways to do it, and one of the things that Baker even said was he actually didn't mind it that much. It eats at him, and it fuels him, but he said one of the best things he did was sit for a season while he was at Oklahoma.
Very true. So with all that being said, now we talked about Sam Darnold. Now let's look across real quickly. Actually, you know what? We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about the QBs, and then we'll move it right along. This is LA Broadus, joined by my man Eric, and this is BrownsTownUSA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back.
What up, sports fans? It's your boy Damian Adams from The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Now, you can catch my show weekly here on the 3-Point Conversion station. I'm always bringing that real sports talk for the real sports fan. But if you're hearing my voice right now, that means you're living life correctly, because you're listening to Brownstown with my man LA and Eric. Make sure you stay tuned. Tell your friends about the show, because you know they're bringing that real for you, that knowledge for you here on Brownstown.
And we are back. I'm LA and my man Eric across from me, BrownsTownUSA Podcast, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We have been breaking down and previewing our matchups. We are right now talking about the QBs. Eric, what did you see from Tyrod quickly from last week, and then what are you expecting to see him do this week?
Well, the one thing that still irks me, he's holding on to the ball too long. And I know people are like, it's the offensive. Is it? Because it looked like he had plenty of time back there, and then it also looked like at times he was looking to run first instead of pass when he had a couple players open. So I'm starting to think maybe he's more gun-shy than we think he is. It's scary, but it's just along the lines of maybe he's still trying to gel with the team, but I'm kind of worried about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about it too. And crazy enough is one of my good friends was a Bills fan, and he actually told me when we traded for him that he was a good guy, but this is what you're going to get frustrated with him about, is that he's going to be too conservative. And I know that that's crazy to say, but it is what it is. Like, that's why his interceptions were low over his entire career. He just doesn't take that chance. Now, with that being said, Eric, that play that you seen him connect with Callaway on, do you think maybe that opened up his eyes, and that now that he's been able to connect on something like that maybe he trusts the young rookie, maybe he'll open it up a little bit more? Maybe Haley that seen that will open it up a little bit more.
I sure hope so, but the thing is, one of the things that was said was he can throw a very pretty deep ball. We saw that. I mean, that was a nearly perfect throw to Callaway. But the issue is, and this is still a thing, those types of throws from him are few and far between. Like, I want to see him throw the ball more. I want to see him run plays like that. Hell, I'd like to see him run an option even, just because that's starting to come back into play in the NFL. But the problem is, I think he's still a bit too conservative. I mean, I hope he proves me wrong during the game against the Jets, but he just seems too conservative.
Yeah, and for the season right now, he is at 443 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. My closing thoughts on this real quick is that, you know, if Tyrod opens it up like that, they will see that the running game will improve. They will see that the throws that he's more comfortable with throwing, the underneath stuff, will actually open up the field for him as well, and he'll complete more because people have to guard the back, you know, of the formation, and they'll have to see that, hey, we do have a deep threat here, so we got to keep a couple safeties back there. But the more that he does not go deep, the field is going to condense. The field is going to get smaller, and they're going to guard the little dink and dunks that he's used to throwing. They're going to guard those screen passes. They're going to be tough on the run, and it's going to ultimately mess up the entire offense. So, Eric, we're going to go across to the running back room, and we see a familiar name here. Crazy enough, not crazy enough because we knew he was there, but our man Isaiah Crowell, that used to be on the Browns. Right now, man, he's at 137 yards and 2 touchdowns through 2 games. And then across from him for us is Carlos Hyde at 105 and 2 touchdowns for the season. This matchup here, Crow versus Hyde, what do you think?
To be honest, underwhelming. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I remember there were people beginning of the year that were saying, oh, now that Crowell's going to the Jets, he's going to have that 1,000-yard year. Oh, now that we have Carlos Hyde, 1,000. Yeah, they don't look like they're going in that direction. They look like 2 tractors that are hooked up to each other and just flooring it to the point that's like, okay, they're breaking even. They might get a combined 600 yards. To quote the great and one of the greatest coaches of all time, he is who we thought he was.
I mean, Crow had a very good run. I believe it was week 1. Outside of that, I mean, he's one of those guys that, like, warms up. He's like an oven. So he, like, warms up, and then he starts getting it going. But just looking at the stats here, Eric, Jets are only allowing about 87 yards a game right now. So it doesn't seem like initially this is going to be the easiest. But at the same time, we haven't really stuck with the run that much to be able to know. Every time it seems like we have some success, especially like running to the left side, like we stop. I want to see Nick Chubb get more involved as well. Hugh Jackson has already come out in the presser saying that Duke Johnson, he wants to get him the ball a little bit more. That's fine and dandy. But Duke Johnson is such a special tool that it's like when they try to get him involved, it's like they're forcing it. It's like they really – I really feel like in kind of revisiting this, Eric, I feel like that we have too many running backs in that room. I really feel like that.
I could see it. I mean, look, the thing is, I think the thing that people are asking right now is people want to see more runs from Chubb, but they don't want to see Hyde lose carries. And then they obviously are saying we need to pass the ball to Duke more. Well, which is it? You can't just there's not extra time that we can do that for. I mean, sure, we can give and we can and we can give the ball to Johnson. That's going to eat away at somebody else's carries, though. Unless you want to put Hyde at a fullback position and then put Chubb and Johnson as tailbacks, it's not going to work out like that. I mean, that's the crazy thing. We have to be realistic here.
True. Now, real quickly, we're going to bounce to the other side of the ball, and then we'll wrap all of this up. Defensively, again, you heard me just say Jets, they are allowing 87 rushing yards so far this season. They're allowing 234 through the air, though. As far as with us, we are at 289 through the air and 110 on the ground. I'm not really looking into these stats for us as being like an end-all be-all because we play some pretty potent offenses. So, I mean, for them to be where they are, I mean, that's not bad at all, you know, because the Saints could have lit us up. The Steelers could have lit us up. So, you know, going up against this Jets offense with our defense, and I'll ask you a little bit in our next segment, like who you're going to be watching out for. But, I mean, I guess just overall recapping, like, do you believe in the Jets defense? Like, do you believe that they are what they are, or is this a product of the first two games?
Well, to be honest, I think it's probably a combination of the two. I mean, look, they had a pretty good defense last year, but they didn't have the offense. The problem is with this defense, however, one, you're missing one huge part of it, and that's the safety Marcus Mays down. And then you're also missing a linebacker in there. I don't know if he's a starter or if he's just a depth piece, but that line, when you're missing linebackers, that's always going to be a problem no matter what you do. The fact is, though, the Jets at one point had a great defense. Like, they still have pieces of that defense, but it wasn't that long ago that they had Sheldon Richardson. It wasn't that long ago that they had the other lineman there. I don't remember what his name was, but one of them that got traded last year, I believe. The thing is, the Jets are not as great of a defense. I mean, they're a good defense. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't see it as much as what people think that they are nowadays.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there you have it. There's a little tidbit of the preview of the Browns versus New York Jets. When we come back, we will talk to you guys about our players that we'll be watching out for on the offensive and defensive side. And, of course, our anticipated – I know you're waiting and have been anticipating our Dawgie Bag segment. So that is also coming up as well. I'm LA. Across from me is Eric, and this is Brownstown USA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Robert Brazil, and I listen to the 3-Point Conversion Radio.
And we are back. LA, Eric. This is Brownstown USA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. Now, we just got done previewing and going over some matchups on the offense and talking a little bit about the defense. But now, Eric, I want to talk to you about our Browns players to watch. And that is when me and Eric pick a guy from both sides of the ball that we'll be keeping an eye out on, and we explain our reasons why. So, Eric, I'll let you kick it off. What player will you be watching for on the offense this week?
On offense, I'm watching Callaway. I mean, let's be realistic here. When you make a 40-something yard reception like that, and I'm not just talking about that little one that we saw Baker Mayfield connect in the preseason with. I'm talking a full-out aerial bomb from Tyrod. You have to build off that. Let's be realistic here. If you can't build off of that, then you're not off to a good start. I mean, look, it was a pretty ball. Let's see you build off of that now.
Yeah, and that's realistic. Not just saying with you. Let's see. The player I'll be looking out for on the offensive side will be Hollywood Higgins. Like I said last week when we talked about, talked a little bit on our emergency podcast. Higgins stepped up. He had 5 receptions. It looks like people are going to try to take away Landry. People are still kind of trying to figure out Callaway. So it's going to be on Higgins because they're going to leave him open. He's going to have a lot of favorable matchups. Because in this offense, we've seen that we have so many weapons that you got to kind of pick your poison. So a lot of people early have been trying to take away Landry, even though he's still been able to get some plays in. So it's really going to be up to Higgins to be able to step up, man, and get us, those meaningful receptions, those first downs, just the different things out there. And last game, like I said, I was impressed because he was able to hold on to the ball. It looked weird. It did. It didn't look the most graceful, but we're not out for a beauty contest when it comes to football. Like, it's about getting it done. So I'm going to be looking at Higgins to grow more in his role because it seems like he's starting to emerge, even though I know we want Callaway to be that guy to stretch the field. I think Higgins is going to be very, very important when they are trying to cover up Landry or take away Njoku or something like that.
Yeah, it makes sense here. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, look, considering that right now people are probably going to also be on edge with Callaway as well, and of course Landry, who is probably the one guy that you're going to see get 1,000 yards this year. I mean, he's already off to that good start that people were expecting, so that's going to leave Higgins all the opportunity in the world. And considering that this is a guy that right now is fighting just to be thought about next year at this point. I mean, you don't think that Cleveland's forgetting about Ricardo Lewis as he's hurt, do you? Well, there you go. Ricardo needs to Higgins needs to make the most of his opportunity.
Absolutely. Now, going to the defensive side, who's your defensive player that you're going to be watching out for?
My defensive player is going to be Jannard Avery. Look, last week, him and Garrett were able to get double-teamed enough and get teamed up on enough that it allowed Ogunjobi to get 2 sacks on Drew Brees. You know how hard it is to hit Drew Brees? It's like not many people hit Drew Brees because he's enough of a veteran to be able to go in and get the ball out quickly. He's an elite quarterback. He's one of maybe 3 elite quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So if you can feast on Drew Brees, then you're doing something right. I think this is the week that we see Avery feast on his fellow rookie here. The antelope is in the field. Let the lion pounce.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I definitely had him down that I would take a look. Since you went his way, I will go this way. I will say my defensive player I'll be watching out for is BBC. Reason being is because if Randall is out, he's going to need to have a big game in order to kind of fill in for Randall being out. Hopefully Randall's not out for too long and we can get him back. Like you said, BBC, like you said earlier in the show, BBC has been there and has had some big games for us last year, but it seems like this year it's just something's a little off with them. So I'll be looking to make sure that he can hold it down while Randall may be sidelined. So that'll be my defensive player. When we come back, I know you all been waiting for it. It's Dawgie Bag time. So I'm LA, and that's Eric, and this is BrownsTownUSA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Diana Taurasi from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion Radio.
And we are back. I am LA, and across from me is Eric. BrownsTownUSA Podcast, powered by the 3-Point Conversion.
Yeah.
Eric, you know what time it is?
Is it time for takeout?
Pretty much. It is time for takeout.
Yay!
It's Dawgie Bag time. Dawgie Bag time. And if you don't know what the Dawgie Bag is, ladies and gentlemen, the Dawgie Bag is something that Eric put together brilliantly. And he goes out and he searches around and he talks to people and he says, hey, what kind of questions do you have this week for us? And we do this once every week on our pregame show, and we'll be answering your questions. So I'm going to dig around real quick. Dig, scritcher. That's what that sounds like, dig. And our first question comes from @PittsburghSucks75 on Twitter.
Great name, love it.
Awesome name. His question is, or her, I'm sorry, they don't really show. But if Tyrod struggles, we got 10 days till Raiders. Does Baker start, and will he be fired if they lose to the Jets?
So the first part is, will Baker start if Tyrod struggles? And then did you say the second part was, is Hugh fired?
Right.
I'm actually gonna reverse the order, if I may. If he struggles, I don't think so. I mean, look, if you do this now, then if you fire Hugh now, you're just repeating the pattern that we've seen for the past nearly 2 decades now. It sucks. Nobody wants to admit that that your coach who's employed is 130 whatever and 1. It's a terrible thing to admit. But at the same time, we've seen that through his systems, we're actually closer than we've ever been before. We're actually playing in competitive games. Nobody was expecting us to really win in that first week. So, you know what? I'm going to say it. I don't think he gets fired if they lose week 3, and if they lose in this week 3 matchup. About Baker? No. I mean, look, I know that I've said that it'd make more sense to have him play week 4 against the Raiders because it's a weaker defense. It's a game that you're facing. If I remember correctly, the game's in Oakland. And the thing is, when you play in Oakland, not even veterans can have an easy time there because the black hole is one of the most vicious areas to play in. Not to mention, Tyrod, I'm starting to feel, isn't struggling because he's not that good. I think he's just trying to gel with the other players. I mean, we're starting to see it more and more. We're starting to see him be comfortable passing. He obviously had less sacks last week. So, you know what? My thing is this. If he struggles, unless he has a day where he throws, let's say, 4 interceptions and just goes all Nathan Peterman on us, then I would not let Baker go in yet.
That's very good points, and I'm going to kind of side with you as well. Don't feel that Hugh would be fired now. I feel if Hugh is going to get fired this season, it'll be by week. I feel like if Baker's going to start, it's going to be when Hugh gets fired. So when it comes to it, they come as a package deal. Hugh's fired, Baker starts, barring any injury. And that's kind of where I'm going to stay at on it, no matter how I feel about Tyrod at times. Now, you brought up a good point. Tyrod is still learning his personnel. People have to realize, man, this is a freaking brand new team. These guys don't know each other. You don't just come in and put together a team real fast and then say, okay, we'll go out and win automatically against teams that's been together for years, okay? It just doesn't happen. That's not how the NFL works. It's not the NBA. So people have to get patience. And I know it's hard to say that for Browns fans to have patience because of the product that we put out there for so long. But we're actually going in the right direction. We actually have talent. We have to give it time to gel. It just is what it is. And that's kind of where we're going to be at, and I'm going to keep looking at it from that standpoint. And like you said, Tyrod is getting more and more comfortable. It'll be better. It's going to get better. It will be better. I hope it's better. That's what I'm going to say there. So our next question comes from @BrownsForever, the number 4 ever, 417. I like actually his title of his name on Twitter too. He said, always the underdogs. But his question to you is, was Rod Streeter the best that the Browns could do?
To be honest, I hate to say it, but given the circumstance, yeah. Look, I know everyone's saying, well, we need Dez Bryant. What's Dez Bryant going to give you? Look, he struggled last year, and it could be because of the quarterback, because he was bros. He was homies with Tony Romo. But one, what's Dez going to give you? 2, what role would he have to play here? I mean, he's a veteran. He doesn't act like a veteran. No offense, as much as I do think Dez could be a good fit, he also acts like a spoiled child at times, which considering that we've had players act like spoiled children, Johnny Manziel, Justin Gilbert, Trent Richardson. We've had those spoiled Kenny Britt. We've had the spoiled brats before. And if he's going to complain on the sidelines just because they didn't throw to him enough, man, shut the hell up. I don't want him in this locker room. And besides that, what other receivers do you really want? And what other receivers are really out there? Are you going to say Devin Kajus? He's not a wide receiver. He's a big-bodied tight end who doesn't know how to block.
Yeah, I get you there. I was saying the same thing as well, that based off of who's out there right now, wide receiver-wise, that, yeah, that's the best they could do as far as a complete fit. I'm not going to say that Rod Streeter was the best talent-wise, but as far as a complete fit, yeah, that's fine with me. I'm fine with Rod Streeter. Again, we're not even looking at that position in the depth chart. If he can work his way up, cool. But right now, I'm concentrating on Callaway and Higgins. We already know what Landry is, so I'm worried about those two right now. Well, not worried, but I want to see more. I want to see them grow, and I think that they have the talent to do it. So this one comes from our Facebook group page. Jess A. Reed says, we have a lot of money invested in the offensive line. So what do you think of their play so far this season?
You know, a lot of people are quick to crap on the line because Tyrod's gotten hit enough. They haven't been able to open up hole. Tyrod's been hit a lot because he holds the ball too long. There's literal complaints I have with it, and it all harkens back to that initial hit in the Steeler game. It's like the minute he got hit from, I think it was T.J. Watt, he turned into a deer in the headlights. It sounded like I could literally hear the Mick Foley's entrance music of the car crash right there. But the thing is, I think the line, for what it is playing fine. Now, I'm going to be honest, I do think that we'll see Corbett take over for J.C. Treader eventually, but until that day comes, I think the line's actually a lot better than what people are saying.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. The first week, it was pretty bad, and then you seen a complete turnaround. One more so because, I don't know if you noticed or not, but we didn't have any false starts. No penalties at all. It was nearly a perfect game when it came to penalties, especially there. I don't think there was any offensive penalties at all. So they're getting together, and again, it goes back to my point that this is a new squad, man. I mean, you got a rookie out there, a rookie left tackle. You got, one lineman that missed pretty much all of the preseason and everything due to injury. I mean, they're trying to figure it out as a unit, as a group. I mean, so you have to allow them and give them time to gel. But also another big point that you brought up, and something that we've always been saying on this show, is that Tyrod Taylor holds the dang on ball too long. And I think that's the reason why people have so much intrigue by Baker Mayfield is because we've seen his amazing pocket awareness, and we've seen how he was able to get the ball out so quickly. So I think that's one of the main reasons why people want Baker in there, because they're like, man, we're wasting this good line on this guy who's just going to hold the ball anyway and get sacked. Can we get it to somebody who's going to appreciate being protected like this? And again, like I told you before, I really feel that this is something that is helping out Baker. The line gets and gels together and becomes a better group, and then you put Baker behind that line. You don't put them behind that line while they're still trying to figure it out, because you don't want to mortgage your future. That's crazy. So let the line gel, let the line get it right, and then you throw out your Baker, so that we know that he has time. If I go lie to you, Eric, man, watching this guy in preseason, if Baker has time, any kind of time, he's gonna carve you up. I mean, like that he's a bad boy. I ain't gonna lie, he's a bad boy. So I'm excited about that. That future. But again, it's not now. It's not now. but it's coming. It'll be coming soon. So we definitely like to thank you for the Dawgie Bag questions. Keep them coming. So we'll be doing this, like I said, once every week. Before we wrap up this show and give our closing thoughts, Eric, just want to lay out the lineup for everybody. So basically what we've done, especially because we've been able to link up a little bit better and record the show a little bit easier, we will have every single week a preview show and a post-game show for you guys. The preview show will definitely be the day before. The post-game show will either be that night or it will be that morning after. We're going to have coverage for you guys. We will continue to bring the funk for you guys. That's what we're going to do. And then if something big happens, like the Josh Gordon situation, then we will pop up and do an emergency podcast for you guys. So you guys will get used to our beautiful voices. Well, at least mine's is beautiful.
We'll also have Punch and Pie. Really, we'll have Punch and Pie.
Punch and Pie?
Punch and Pie.
What in the world?
Everybody, come on, dude. Everybody will come if you tell them that we have Punch and Pie.
I've never had that combination together before in my life.
You're full of it. You're full of it.
This is LA, and that's Eric across from me. We'll be right back to wrap up the show for you guys. Brownstown, USA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion.
Hey, this is Gary Payton. Y'all listen to 3-Point Conversion Radio. It's the bomb.
Tell them we'll have Punch and Pat. We're not going to have Punch and Pie. More people will come if they think we have Punch and Pat.
All right, and we are back, and it's so hard.
Punch and Pie!
Say goodbye. And, yeah, I was trying to give you guys a nice little sing out, but I'm LA, and the one that was yelling at you guys, okay, bye, was Eric. And
my Punch and Pie!
And he's still on Punch and Pie. So, as we close out this show, Eric, I mean, we talked about the matchups. We talked about some of the things going around the AFC North. What's the biggest thing, man? What's the narrative? What's the storyline you're going to be looking for this week?
The storyline I'm going to be looking for this week is how Sam Darnold can handle a real defense. I mean, look, he has not played a real defense. Let's be honest. He's played the Dolphins, who, while good and while decent, I wouldn't put up there with the top defense. Cleveland is starting, and we saw making that transition last year. I think they're finally there, so I think that's going to be my storyline to watch for this game.
Good storyline, definitely a good storyline, and I agree with you. It's going to be interesting because you already know what's going to happen. If Sam Darnold lights us up, you're gonna see the trolls come out and say, man, you guys should have drafted Sam Darnold over Baker. You made another terrible mistake. Oh, it's just the Browns. Yeah, and that's how they sound. So that's you. That's how you sound. No, I'm just saying. But yeah, that's what we're gonna hear. Anytime a rookie lights it up or something like that, we're gonna hear that it was the Browns' fault. We should have done better. We should have drafted better. Whatever, yawn. Okay. I'm not really concerned with Sam Darnold lighting us up because if we were able to do what we did on Drew Brees last week and confuse him, like we really confused Drew Brees, and that's crazy. So if we were able to confuse Drew Brees, especially with Drew Brees, he worked with Greg Williams. So you would have thought that Drew Brees would have came in there and had the cheat book, right? Because Greg Williams is there. But no, we still confused him. We still stifled him. We still sacked him. Do you really think a rookie coming in? We're about to eat. Okay, so fantasy-wise, if you have Browns defense, go ahead and start them jokers. Yes, we're going to eat. So, yes, I like that. As far as my narrative and my storyline that I'm looking at, Eric, is going to be our running backs. And it's because we have too much talent in that running back room for us not to be getting off. We are not getting off the run at all. Like, we're not doing well with it. And the run has to be established in order to get Tyrod to be able to pass the ball down the field. But also, too, you got to take some chances, like you said, down the field in order to open up the run. Okay, so it's all the same thing. It's all intertwined. It's all mixed up in a mixing bowl. ready to be served to you with the punch. So, yeah, I'm looking for that, man. I'm looking for us to be able to try to get that running game going. I would like to see us burst off a couple big runs. And then, like I said, that will open up the play action for us, which it looks like Tyrod is most comfortable with is play action passes. So, you got anything to add on top of that?
Yeah, you know what? I'll give a prediction. Why not? Let me.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna say I think this could be the week that the Browns do it. I mean, I know I've said this the past 2 weeks, but keep in mind that these were games that I thought were gonna be closer. Like literally, these were field goal decided games, and we were right about it. Just one of them, we didn't see the field goals hit at all or connect. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Browns beat the Jets 24-17. I'm going to call it a touchdown game.
All right, and for me and my prediction, I'm actually go opposite, man. I'm going to go opposite because you know what? I've been picking the Browns. I've been going with my heart, and they lost. So if I go opposite, then I'm hopefully doing some reverse psychology, you know. So I'm going to go Jets 27, Browns 20. And we all know what I hope happens, but I'm going to pick the Jets and the pick 'em. And I'm going to, you know, we'll just see. Because if I strike out on the pick 'ems for it, then that means it's a good thing. And we'll be back on the post-game show singing It's a Lovely Day.
It's a beautiful day in Cleveland. Just don't go to the east side.
And if we have any East Side listeners, I definitely apologize. Your side is also very.
We love the East Side. We love the East Side. Just
yes.
Not when it snows.
It's very lovely, especially in October. But anywho, me and Eric are gonna go ahead and sign off. We have pizza and pie here. It's been delivered. Not pizza and pie, but pie and
punch and pie.
Yeah,
punch and pie.
Pie and punch. So we're going to go get some pie and punch, and we will see you guys after, hopefully, a Cleveland Browns win Thursday. I'm LA, and my man, of course, Eric, sitting across from me. This is Brownstown, USA, powered by the 3-point conversion. Peace.
Punch and pie!
What would Brian Boitano do if he was here right now? He'd make a plan and he'd follow through. That's what Brian Boitano do. When Brian Boitano was in the Olympics skating for the gold, he did 2 sow cows and a triple Lutz while wearing a blindfold. When Brian Boitano was in the Alps fighting grizzly bears, he used his magical fire breath and saved the maidens fair. So what would Brian Boitano do if he were here today? I'm sure he'd kick an ass or two. That's what Brian Boitano do. I want this speech out of me. It has stunted my vocabulary.